Today, Governor Kay Ivey continued to urge people to get vaccinated. Today, 646 new cases were reported in Alabama. Just about every county in the state now is considered to be at high risk. Ivey has some strong words for people who won't get a shot.
The new cases in COVID are because of unvaccinated folks. Almost 100% of the new hospitalizations are with unvaccinated folks. And the deaths are certainly occurring with unvaccinated folks. These folks are choosing a horrible lifestyle of self-inflicted pain. We've got to get folks to take the shot. The vaccine is the greatest weapon we have to fight COVID. There's no question about that. The data proves it. I've taken the shot back in December, both shots. And it's just the thing to do. So the unvaccinated is who we need to focus on. Y'all get them to start taking the shot. It's their job to take care of themselves and us as well. We can't do that for them. All we can do is everybody take the shot themselves. So encourage others to do likewise.
And I can't find a seconder usually when I prepare this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele, Backwoods Southern Lawyer. You found the Backstory Podcast, now on Spotify. Interestingly enough, Mr. Ripp.
And on YouTube, too.
And, we got our regular rig back, and so we should be back to normal. Everybody should be able to watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, anywhere you like to consume your social media.
And some of the information you're getting, you're not going to, from us, you're not going to be getting from anywhere else. So stay tuned.
True that. So is everybody, not everybody's from here. And I thought we would show where Baldwin County is in relation to the state of Alabama, way down here on the coast. We used to be a part of Spanish West Florida for many years, from New Orleans all the way over to Tallahassee.
We should have kept that property.
No kidding. Wouldn't we? We'd be the richest damn state in the union if we'd have held that together. Anyway, we've had an interesting history here in our state, and as historical figures continue to roll on, we can't seem to shake ourselves of them. One of them seems to be Mabel Amos, who was a stump the high Q team question on the at the state championships. Who was the first female Secretary of State in Alabama? Mabel Amos. And that brings us to our first article from the Lagniappe this week. Railroaded, Family Learns Amos Oil Strike Produced Millions, by Rob Holbert. And Paul, I'm going to let you take this away.
All right. Well, Rob is the one that broke this story last week. We covered it before. And this week is Family Learns Amos Oil Strike Produced Millions. This is by Rob Holbert, Lagniappe. Title of the article is Railroaded, or in Lagniappe, you may see it as Family Learns Amos Oil Strike Produced Millions. Lee Manning is the grandniece of the former Alabama Secretary of State, Mabel Amos, and I'm sure Mabel Amos is probably turning over in her grave if she knew how the trustees with Regions Bank and the attorneys have treated her trust. But Lagniappe has reported on this, like I said, last week. Now, Miss Manning is saying that she thinks that the trustees have been underhanded, and they think that they railroaded Mabel into doing what they wanted her to do with her own money. She was passed away at 99. In 1999, she passed away at 99 years old. And now they're questioning some of the things that happened in her trust and what she was to sign at that time. But the problem is that Mr. Tom Albritton is the director of ethics, and as late as just the last couple of days, he's teaching classes on ethics, and at the same time, he's been, let's say, withdrawing funds from the trust for his own children. And Miss Manning's children,
they were awarded scholarships,
right? And
not just withdrawing funds. They were awarded. They made application and were awarded scholarships.
That's correct. That's correct. $15,000 disbursements. Let's see, there were 6 of those $15,000 disbursements between 2013 and 2018 that were $7,500 or $15,000 each to Albritton's children to go to the University of Texas. Now, at the same time, Megan Carmack, Lee Manning's daughter, had applied for a scholarship her last year, getting her bachelor's degree because she was struggling and she didn't want to get a student loan. And so she applied for $10,000, and they would only give her $4,000. And this was at the same time they were paying for Albritton's kids to go to school. Carmack also took issue with the trustees not informing the family of the oil discovery at Amos 36-3. That is what they called the well number, 36-3, in 2010. And it was yours truly that provided the article to the Carmack family, the Lagniappe article. And at that time, no one had any idea that oil had even been discovered there. One of the other trustees, Rick Clifton, was contacted about the money that Megan had received. She had received $72,000 over 11 years. Most of that was from early school, grammar school, up to high school. In fact, a lot of it she did not know that she had even received because it was paid directly to the school. But the trustee, and I think this is kind of damning on the trustee's part, Rick Clifton, the other trustee, said the payments had been for elementary, middle, and high school, and he's not sure, he wasn't sure before then where exactly she did go to school, whether it was college or not. But every year it's a statewide thing. A renewable type thing, Clifton said. And I think, just to be honest, with her being a relative of Mabel, we kind of took the approach that if Mabel was alive, that she would have helped her. So we were trying to fulfill what Mabel's intent was. Well, that acknowledges that they knew that there was a connection there and everything else. Now, the thing that's going to make this interesting, folks, we have filed the Ripp Report.
So y'all need to hide your kids.
The Ripp Report has filed an ethics complaint. We filed a writ of mandamus. We filed a complaint with the Bar Association, and we wrote to the Attorney General. We have, as yet, not received a single answer from any of them.
Paul, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Because I want to remind you of what was shouted at us at a public meeting we attended. You remember this?
Well, Harry, you are entitled to any animus that's directed against you. You have no good purpose in any of the things you're doing other than to muckrake around, and everybody knows it.
Well, we're muckraking.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, we're muckraking.
Is that how you like to spend your weekends?
Correct.
And free time?
And this is, what gets me is that these articles are being written for the public, and the public's reading this, and we're not getting any other information about what's going on. Now, what's changed a little bit, or quite a bit, is that Lee Manning has now hired well-known Montgomery attorney Thomas Gallion to look into the matter. Gallion, who has represented Manning's mother before and knew her father well, also said Amos was close to her parents. He waded right into what he came offering the assessment of the handling of the Mabel Amos Memorial Fund. I know that Mabel Amos had no children and that her nephew, James Gully, was her next of kin. She treated James Gully like her own son and daughter, Lee Manning like her own daughter, and I was shocked to discover how Regions Bank Trust Department had treated Mabel Amos family under the Mabel Amos Educational Fund. So hopefully Mr. Gallion is going to approach this from a different angle than the Ripp Report, and we'll see where it's all going, and we will keep you posted on what happens on this, because we fully expect for it to get a lot more heated. I just think the irony of Mr. Albritton, Director of Ethics, giving ethics classes this week.
Okay, so let me have the wheel for a second.
All right.
So I misspoke. Remember how I said there were 14,000 people in Conecuh County?
Right. This is an entire county.
There were 14,000 people there in 2001 when I was their county administrator. Now that we've had a couple more censuses, it appears a lot of people have moved out of Conecuh County. There are now 12,000 people there.
Wow.
One of the major employers there is Conecuh Sausage. Have you ever had Conecuh Sausage?
I have, and I smell it every time I go to Birmingham.
Nectar of the grill is what I like to call it.
Right.
And so if you haven't ever put it in with your crawfish or shrimp for a low crust.
How many people do you think in the county knew that millions and millions of dollars was coming out of the ground in oil?
I'm sure John and them didn't know it. So
Mr.
anyhow,
Albritton did.
So every year the Ethics Commission gives a mandatory continuing education class for all of the lobbyists in the state. And it ran about an hour. You can see I was one of 14 people who watched the live stream, right? I guess the rest of the lobbyists were in the room, but they live streamed it in case you wanted to audit it or whatever, which is what I did.
Was it difficult for Albritton to be talking with all that egg on his face?
All the steak and potato falling out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting, and I pointed it out on Twitter that it was live. You know, that while no one at the Ethics Commission can call me back, because you understand he's a public official in a state agency, so typically the Attorney General would represent him in a civil trial, but they have inside counsel, right? They have two lawyers that work there, and so I don't know who I'm going to be crossing swords with on your behalf, but
we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm sure they're trying to figure out a game plan.
So you know how we talked about our backstory podcast heroes and all these people that did heroic things,
right?
And we talked about the tragedy of Johnny Hurley in Colorado, and the tragedy of John McAfee.
Tragedy, that's not a tragedy.
But you know, there's some other things going on around here. The shots fired into the senator's home. They were saying, the cover story does not appear to have been targeting her. Well, hell, of course it was targeting her. Your front of your house didn't get riddled with bullets for no reason. So anyway, what I'm getting at is people need to come forward. People need to talk to the police. But there's a gap between trust in the community. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So anyway, do you remember this story? I told you about this 73-year-old store owner up in Talladega.
William Taylor. Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, there have been teenagers that were arrested for his murder up there.
Doesn't surprise me.
Teenagers on the crime beat. Sheriff's defense team grills state witnesses in North Alabama corruption trial. The sheriff took $29,000 worth of loans and inmate cash. And then, of course, the judge suspended the trial last week because one of the state witnesses got a deal so that they wouldn't be prosecuted. And for some reason that was to be disclosed to the court. Doesn't seem germane.
Same thing over and over and over again.
So Rusty Glover is running against our beloved Jim Ziegler, who helped us kill the bridge project.
Right.
For a do nothing office that everybody wants to abolish, I think it's interesting that Rusty Glover is.
They want Ziegler out no matter what. Any way they can get him out.
He's a gadfly.
That's right. That's why I'll vote for him.
Is that why you'll vote for him? I don't know. I'd love to hear a debate between some of these Jake Legs, wouldn't you?
Oh,
not that I don't have total respect for both of these gentlemen.
Well, if you're not reading Lagniappe, you're not even getting the news.
let's have a debate. So remember this rash of shootings a few weeks ago?
Right.
That all occurred, like
bing, bing,
bang,
bing.
bam, bam, bam.
Right.
Well, it turns out it was a bunch of revenge killings. So we're about to have the same thing in Bay Minette, and this is what I'm trying to say.
Little Bay Minette.
It will be heroic for someone to come forward and say who did this so the police can arrest them. Because like my little birds tell me, ain't nobody telling the cops jack, and that, this is going to be one of those take care of yourself kind of things. And I just hope that a bunch of people don't get shot dead in the parking lot somewhere.
Well, that's right.
Innocent bystanders.
It'll just perpetuate itself further.
So also in Bay Minette, the log cabin inn, this yahoo carved another guy up. Just, if you let the, I think this is the plot to Demolition Man, one of the greatest movies that Sylvester Stallone was ever involved in. When you let it becomes awash with crime and drugs, you then have an enemy, and then you need to, the police can't protect us from any of this.
Bay Minette, how many people in Bay Minette?
Machine guns and tanks and stuff.
How many people in Bay Minette?
It's probably 9,000, something like that.
Seems like a lot of crime all of a sudden.
Well, when they're...
for such a small town.
We went over, they cracked the passwords that all of the... You weren't here for that one either.
No.
The Donald Rumsfeld one.
Oh.
And then, of course, the hundreds of pounds of cocaine washing up on the beach. Our these people who are supposed to be the top law enforcement officer in their counties, like the DA up in Lee County, which is where Auburn University is. And now, here comes the other shoe to drop. Remember how all these people met at Trump Tower the night before the insurrection or whatever? Mm-hmm. And you remember that our Attorney General was on this pack, so to speak. They called it the Attorney General's whatever pack.
Right.
But they were basically just raising money, and then they robocalled people and told them where to meet and where to go for the big July 6th rally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now they're saying it's a matter of operational security that they're not going to divulge where our AG was that day or who he spoke with or any of this kind of stuff.
Who's saying that?
Marshal's office refused to tell Alabama political reporter where he was that day.
That's one day I'm not going to talk about. Okay, well, we know where my letter to the AG is going to go, don't we?
Right. So, do you know this turd muffin?
Lance LaFlour. Yep.
Right.
Alabama Department of Environmental Maniacs.
Right. He refuses to answer questions about Black Warrior River water safety. You know what I mean? It's just on and
listen, on. It is. That's Alabama's way. Let's just refuse to answer or just say.
And this little girl's over here going, oh, shit, I'm going to get fired. A reporter got past me. The door stops.
Man.
So not to be confused with my friend, Lance LaCour.
Correct.
Who used to be the Baldwin County Economic Development Director for about 10 years. The godfather of the Megasite idea, unfortunately. And I was showing you my touristy legs.
What does he think about it now?
So Lance came over last week, and we went on a kayaking trip, which is the reason for my sunburn. Mm-hmm. And we started it way up here, and I thought we were going to have a nice little leisurely trip down to Traders oh no, I took the wrong turn, and we ended up at the battleship. Fighting an incoming tide and a south wind. Anyway, it was about an 8-hour trek. So do not confuse these two people. Lance LaFlour, Lance LaCour.
Well, right? LaCour, he originated the Megasite?
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute.
All right.
So, like I said, we paddled for 8 hours together.
Right.
We had a lot. We talked about lots of stuff. Megasite was definitely one of them. So this is a letter from the Waterkeepers of Alabama in response to, it takes more than lawsuits to protect Alabama waters. The director of the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, Lance LaFlour, recently said in an article, it takes more than lawsuits to protect Alabama's waters. The statement was a clear insinuation that legal action from citizens such as waterkeepers in Alabama is unnecessary. Such action is necessary because that seems to be the only way to get ADM's attention about a serious violation of law. Lawsuits would not be necessary if ADM did its job.
Amen.
And I don't need to read the rest of it.
And they have never done their damn job. Never.
So, anyway, the Alabama Department of Public Health released a, I don't know what you call it, a pamphlet, an electronic PDF pamphlet that you can go look at, and it gives you advisories in each of the basins about where you can't eat the fish. So you see all these fish.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere that I can fish around here that I can eat a largemouth bass. They're
I heard it was
largemouth.
Yeah, that largemouth bass were the ones that were really showing the mercury levels.
And I don't know if you saw this, but you also can't eat anything around here because it's rained 2 inches every day, and every single lift station was just overflowing.
Right.
Our infrastructure is laughable, especially our sewage infrastructure.
I was going to say,
which begs the question, why in the world we'd be going into public-private partnerships for major developments down at the beach when there's nowhere for the sewage effluent to go?
Well, I can tell you that is going to be a mega project there, buddy.
So you remember Mo Brooks having the big showdown about getting served?
Yeah, he had no sense of humor about it.
And Katie Britt's out there raising $2.2 million.
Woo.
Richard Shelby's retiring and handed all his money down. So anyway, there's a big Twitter battle between Richard Shelby and Mo Brooks.
Oh, great.
Shelby, 99-year-old Richard Shelby, he's got to be 85, right? 86?
Somewhere up there, yeah.
And he suggests Mo Brooks is irrational. Brooks responds by questioning qualifications of Shelby's former relatively inexperienced employee. So he's like, oh, yeah, she was the girl that answered the phone. No, she was not. She was the chief of staff for Richard Shelby in D.C.
For how many years? You know?
At least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she ran the rodeo.
Well, when it comes to Shelby and Mo Brooks, there's not much of a decision there either.
So are you familiar with public rights to the beach?
Oh, man, after living 16 years in Belize, I can tell you a lot about the passerway is what some of them call it, but the walkway in front of a public beach, yes.
Right, can't be impeded. So anyway, that's why they wall it up down there in front of these condos, and the parking's all, guest and owner only.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up with a de facto private beach in front of each one of these condos.
Right.
Where they don't want the unwashed masses coming or whatever.
But they still can't stop you from walking through.
No, they can't, but they can tow your damn car and cost you a lot of money, and the police can harass you and do all the things that they love to do down in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is a good article. I don't have the time or the inclination to talk about riparian rights and the high tide line and all that kind of stuff. But if you are interested in it, go to my Twitter handle and follow the link.
And that's true mostly around the world,
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about our Megasite.
Oh, boy.
So this is Lee Lawson. Wow. I think that's his high school
photo. That looks like one of those real estate photos. Where you
there he is all grown up.
Yeah, all right.
And this, you can tell this is an old picture
next to the tax man
because Meemaw's shoulder she didn't have her shoulder pads in yet. She started wearing shoulder pads as the osteoporosis progressed.
Well, not only that,
but then Elliot has hair.
Yeah, and she doesn't have any love for Elliot anyway.
No, I don't. She ain't been that close
whatsoever.
to him since.
In fact, I don't think the Baldwin County delegation.
I still think this is Dukakis in the damn tank, him flying around in that helicopter. But anyway, the Megasite is, and this is not accurate. The Megasite goes, this road goes on down here, and the property line does, and it actually is adjacent to the railroad, and that's what they're doing right now. And I guess I'll let you kind of go into it a little bit, but you got to understand, this was this was Lance LaCour's idea, and he had the land tied up with the Crosby family with an option to purchase. So if they ever did have a Boeing or somebody wanted to come in here and build something spectacular, we knew what the land was going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he never would have suggested that the county spend $32 million on dirt when it was unnecessary, when you could have it tied up. I mean, there's no access to it. There's no electricity out there. It's 3,000 acres of raw timber.
Harry, there wasn't even a sign till we were persistent about this is what they had up there for a 3,000 acre until we just embarrassed them enough to do something. But the Megasite, this is Mega Bucks, fruitless Megasite receives additional investment, Gabe Times in Lagniappe. And, we encourage you to read Lagniappe because it is basically the only news that you're getting around here and the only ones that have guts enough to print some of the things that they're printing. But the Megasite investment is in the long vacant South Alabama Megasite is nearly $50 million now, according to officials, but at least $12.5 million has been private dollars. Now, here's what gets me. A lot of times you'll hear like people with the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance and say, oh, no, we only spent $34 million with that $12.5 million we got from somewhere else. Well, guess what? Those are both costs, folks. So that's what brings it up to right at $50 million. And this is at $48 million exactly. And this is going on for like 10 years. Last year, using a $7 million credit from the same program, Economic Development built a $1 million square foot building pad, essentially a clay foundation, on a site, plus a 1.5
Hey,
nails.
Paul, how much do you think the damn silt fence cost to install around? How many acres? A 200-acre pad?
Yeah.
A 200-acre building pad.
Well, this is now the next phase is also the railroad tracks that are going in there, which have been quite controversial that they even needed to buy the land that they did to do this. But that's going to take 12 to 15 months to complete. Okay, we're already at 10 years. You're going to be at 11 or 12 years, and we still haven't sold it. Now, another thing that I find interesting in the article was
8.5 years.
Well, 8, 10. So we're going to be at 10 plus years anyway, if you look at it. And in the past, this has always been a project of a Megasite that was going to develop into lots of jobs and a long-term lease where the county would get all of its money back. But now Mr. Lawson with the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance is saying that they intend to sell the property to developers rather than lease it. Now, the thing that gets me, and I've been following this, and Harry has too, from the very beginning, years and years and years, and Lawson is quoted in this article as saying that last year he courted some 55 to 60 real inquiries about this Megasite. I want to tell you folks, be sure to quote me, that's bullshit. And if he did, you better ask yourself, what in the world was wrong with the site?
Do we need to bring in Mayday Malone to close this game?
I mean,
what's the deal?
55 to 60 real inquiries? There's something wrong if you haven't sold it by then. Now, Tom Tessa, head of the business development for CSX Railroad, said the Baldwin County Megasite is one of 23 nationwide deemed CSX Mega Select sites. But one of the other problems that no one is really saying anything about is Lawson said that he didn't believe that recruitment efforts were serious among the labor, even though the unemployment rate is currently 3% in Baldwin County and 5.2% in Mobile County. So, if you did have, let's say, a car manufacturer or someone go in there and they needed 1,000, 2,000 employees, there would be the next rub. Where are you going to get that many employees. The Megasite,
they're underemployed.
The Megasite has been a black hole, and I'll be very anxious to see the last chapter and how much the county loses overall, or what type of bizarre deal Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance does to make this pay off, because we're going deeper and deeper and deeper as far as the top dollar goes.
When he was talking about vertical construction.
Oh, yeah, right. I like that.
What I was going to tell you about the economic development trade, one of the things that you can do to get people to come look at your site is to build a tilt-up concrete spec building on top of that pad that'll cost another $20 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no limit to how much money we can spend out there. And it's like you said, let's measure it in lost opportunity. What could we have done with $40 million in this county besides this? I mean, I can tell you this, Standard Furniture is doing nothing but import and export. And so now you got a huge manufacturing facility right in downtown Bay Minette, or not in downtown, but inside the city limits of Bay Minette.
Right.
That's disused and could be used for recruitment. And there's already a damn rail line there.
Right. It's ready to go.
It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. So if you're in a manufacturing, you're going to go out there and build everything brand new, and you could
when
go
you
right
call
down
Lee,
the street.
tell him Harry said to ask about the Standard Furniture building in Bay Minette.
Yeah. Well, they're all the time taking credit for things that they shouldn't be either.
All right.
And by the way, you, the taxpayers, are funding the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance, so that should make you feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, there are private dollars in it too, but there's a lot of public money in it. So you want to talk about this Fairhope Magnolia mixed-use development?
Fairhope will never cease to amaze anyone. Anybody's been listening to us. We went through the electrical substation that they put in right in the middle of a residential area, and everybody was protesting it. Now they're rejecting a mixed-use development because they say it doesn't comply. It's just totally backwards, folks. The council meetings, 3 councilmen are showing up, or 3 people at one time. That's it.
Who was their consulting engineer?
I don't know who that was on that one. On which one?
On this one. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
That'd be interesting to know.
No, I don't. But I mean, this is it. This is you will never see any consistency. And the one thing I can tell you about Fairhope from the past 15, 20 years is that the biggest abuser of breaking their own rules, regulations, ordinances, planning, all of that is the city itself. It's the city itself. They're the worst violator.
Well, and playing musical planners isn't a good idea either, because, you had the proposal that they did for an overlay district. Was that
Right.
Greelot Road?
Right, yeah.
What's the name of that road?
Greeno
Road. And so I don't know if they're using form-based codes when they let people use these mixed-use developments. I'm wondering how in the hell you can get a 20-unit anything on a single-family residential lot.
It's called Good Old Boy 101.
I don't know. So it's interesting it got
Fairhope
turned down.
has a degree in it.
All right, so we hadn't talked about coronavirus in a while because it just hasn't been much of an issue. So 34.2 million infected in the U.S. with 610,000 deaths, and that's up about 5,000 since the last time. Since in the last month, it's only 5,000 people have died in the country. Right?
We have a pandemic of unvaccinated.
Well, and that's what we heard from Governor Ivey to begin with, just chastising people. It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated. 646 new cases in Alabama. 59 of 67 counties are considered very high risk, and that's because we're last in vaccination.
And this is exactly what the scientists predicted 6 months ago. Exactly. So Alabama's last.
Well,
now we're going to be first to suffer, maybe.
Well, and so here's what you hear things and you just wish you could unknow them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what place in the world right now is awash with coronavirus deaths?
India.
They're burning them in the streets, the bodies, because they don't have anywhere to put them. And that's their way, I think. They like to funeral pyres are either burn. I think they burn them up and they put them in the river, don't they?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're supposed to do in Hinduism? Anyway, the patient 0 in Alabama came from where?
I'm not sure.
India. Yeah. And so since the 4th of July, our numbers have tripled every week. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, that's all over the entire United States has had an increase.
I know, but if you were going to have a no-fly to somewhere, I mean, shit. You do realize the connection between Great Britain and India?
Yeah.
You hadn't been able to fly from India to the UK in like 3 months.
Right.
But the U.S. is no problem. I don't get it. So, anyway, a Tarrant city councilman used the a racial slur in his back and forth with the mayor and some people. Now, I've watched the whole video. I went and watched the whole meeting just to be fair. Mm-hmm. It's a real poor choice of words, Mr. Bryant. And of course, it made national news anytime that we do anything to shoot ourselves in the foot. There's always someone there watching.
You're responsible for what you say.
We collectively, as Alabamians, need to do better than this. So, I don't think you were here for this one. This is another one you missed. So, there was a rumor that Biz Markie was dead.
Right.
So, guess what?
He's alive.
He dead.
He is dead.
No, he is dead.
Okay.
It's been confirmed. And one last thing. I had Rains and I have a friend in Jacksonville. She's actually a dive master. Mm-hmm. I think she's in the travel business now. But anyway, she called me and she said, you guys need to look into this. This is crazy. So Timothy Obi and a bunch of friends leave out of Jack. They're heading offshore. They're 46 miles or so spearfishing. And they all stop to do a decompression stop together coming
Scroll
back up.
up.
I can't.
Oh.
And so anyway, last time everybody saw him, they're all sitting at 30 feet doing decompressions, and they all start fin kicking to the top. They get up. He never shows up at the top. So anyway, they look for him, and anyway, he's from a pretty prominent family over there. The name of the vessel was the Pole Dancer.
Oh, well. The Pole Dancer. Oh, my God.
Anyway,
well,
sorry to hear about that.
Yeah,
but, every time you get in the water, maybe your last.
Right.
You got to love it to do it.
Right. No telling what happened.
All right, Mr. Ripp, last one's on you.
Okay, last one. Anybody that's been in the confines of what they call the family court in Baldwin County may want to pay attention to this. This is something new that has come out in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Alabama, Northern Division. Che Garrigan is plaintiff in her is versus John Merrill in his official capacity as Secretary of State of Alabama, Michelle Thomason, District Judge, and Clark Stankowski in his official capacity as presiding judge of the 28th Circuit. We will be putting this online at the ripreport.com, and you can read the entire thing. Basically, one of what this is saying is that Michelle Thomason has been working as a circuit court judge when she was elected as a district judge, and that can be possible if the presiding judge was to allow the appointment for 180 days for a district judge to operate as a circuit judge. But Michelle Thomason's been doing this forever. and it's caused a ton of problems. One or two things I'd like to read to you inside the suit. It's like 22 pages. It's real interesting. Number 29, that all political power is inherent in the people and that all free governments are founded on the authority and instituted for their benefit. Continually reappointments of Judge Thomason to hear circuit court cases without the input of the electorate is usurpation of legislative authority and voter rights. All right, then the other couple of things, and I want to read you that I think are very interesting. This could have a profound impact on Baldwin County and what they call the family court. Number 38 Code of Alabama authorizes the creation of a family court. However, the Constitution of Alabama does not allow the creation of a separate court known as a family court. Except as otherwise provided by the Constitution, the judicial power of the state shall be vested inclusively in the unified judicial system, which shall consist of a Supreme Court, a court of criminal appeals, a court of civil appeals, a trial court of general jurisdiction known as a circuit court, and a trial court of limited jurisdiction known as a district court.
Limited to small claims, misdemeanors, the biggest thing they get to make decisions about are civil cases. I think that ceiling's like $15,000 now,
something like that,
maybe 20, and
then you have your
and you know, DUIs and stuff. Nobody when they elected a district judge in Alabama thought, that person's one day going to be in charge of my children and everything I own.
Right.
They are courts of limited jurisdiction.
And a family court has to be legislatively created. The district court shall be a court of limited jurisdiction, just like you were talking about, and shall exercise uniform original jurisdiction in such cases and within geological boundaries such as prescribed by law. 43, the most troubling about the appointment of Thomason or any district judge to hear circuit court cases is the deception or concealment of information from the voter. The voter is never informed that the person that they have elected to one position, the district court, is in fact serving in the position that they were never elected to, being the circuit court.
All right, I'm going to tell you how absurd it is, and that's my last comment about this. If you file for divorce in this county, there are 3 judges that could possibly hear your case. One of them is Judge Bosch. She is a circuit judge. She's also the juvenile judge. And one of the requirements of the law in Alabama is that the juvenile judge must be a circuit court judge, right? Mm-hmm. So she hears divorce. I mean, she hears DR cases and juvenile cases. The other 2 judges that you might get are, guess what? Our 2 district court judges, because the other 4 circuit judges don't hear domestic relations cases at all. Period. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's more absurd than you think.
And this has been going on forever, and there is no one, absolutely no one, that we get more complaints at the Ripp Report with than Judge Michelle Thomason. You can go to the ripreport.com, look over on the right, and you'll see tags. If you touch on Thomason, you can go back, 4 or 5 years in articles that we've been writing the same thing. We get complaints every single solitary week, over and over. Now, finally, this is going to be heard in federal court. Now, the reason that the alternative to go to federal court has come about is that the lawyers for Che Garrigan have exercised all other options of trying to get it settled in the state.
Well, they asked her to recuse herself, and she refused.
Then they had a writ of mandamus.
So then they mandamused her, mm-hmm. and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court just denied cert and didn't give her any explanation.
Right.
So
didn't want to touch it.
What can you do? Well, you can go to federal court and say, by doing this, they violated my civil rights under Section 1983, which is exactly what she's claiming.
This
here.
could have a huge impact. So anybody,
and I should disclose that I represented Ms. Garrigan at one point several years ago.
Right.
I think it was 2016 or so.
And I can tell you that I went to court one time with her and was absolutely appalled at Judge Thomason's behavior. Garrigan had.
That's your own opinion, not mine.
That's right. And Garrigan had hired a new attorney that morning. She explained that to the judge, and the judge said, "I don't care who you hired. You're going to defend yourself today." Garrigan told her that no, she didn't feel like she was capable of doing that. She said, "No, you are going to," which she did. And then in the middle of it, 2 more times, Garrigan approached the judge and said, "Your Honor, I'm just not capable of representing myself." And Thomason insisted that she proceed. So I'd never seen anything like that before.
Well, now it's all going to be meted out in the federal court.
Right. I hope they fry her.
We'll keep you posted.
Do something. Get rid of her.
What are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to my brother-in-law's 80th birthday, third one he's had this week.
He's partying it up, huh?
Yeah,
well,
right.
Rain's got his knee cut open on Tuesday, and it was much worse than they thought. So I think he was too well medicated to join us.
Wow. Well, yeah, that could be a good thing.
I guess so. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Keep your powder dry.
Hey, get your lagniappe. Stay informed what's going on in Baldwin County. Nowhere else you can get it.